Morning YouTube. Just got my first stand down pay. That's an eye opener. Zero. There's a bit of daily travelling allowance somehow confusingly in there. I don't know how that works, but it's interesting when you're used to getting a fairly big paycheck every couple of weeks to see zero roll in, then it becomes very real. Hi, I'm Marty. I flew these with these. I fly these with them. Got a wife, kids, play golf, band, happy life, and then Corona. It's a drag, but you're not alone. Have a laugh with me on. Next thing, some news on the cat that I got my parents to keep them company while they were in isolation. If you remember, I got a beautiful grey male giveaway cat, little kitten. They called it Jojo in the end, Jojo, after my kid's favourite manga show, Jojo's Bizarre Adventures. Anyway, they took Jojo along to get desexed about a week ago, and some interesting news. A miracle's occurred. Jojo's actually a girl. So, what do you know? Miracles happen. Anyway, I hope miracles do happen because I'm actually applying for a job today. I said the other day I went through that grade process of, okay, this is becoming quite real. How do I deal with it? I don't know whether it's going to be 2, 3 or maybe 6 months for my job to come back to work. So may as well do something. It's more about direction for me. It's more about doing something with this time. So I've always thought I'd like to get into advertising, into the advertising world. I watch that show, The Groon Transfer. I love it. I sit there and watch those blokes and think, man, in a different sliding doors life, I could have been one of those blokes sitting next to Todd Sampson and coming up with smart ideas to sell things to people that they don't need. Well, I'm going to give it a go. So I've drawn up a short list of all the advertising agencies in Perth. And I know it sounds ridiculous, but I'm just going to send them an email and tell them my situation and say, hey, I'd like to start as your new cadet. Took the kids up to Kings Park, just sat on the ground, drank some tea with the kids, just lay in the sun and did absolutely nothing. It was fantastic. An ant's nest was destroyed. The kids tried to kill each other with some sticks. Great afternoon. Right now I've just taken my kids for a couple of hours in the park, which was lovely. Now my boy's outside playing Warhammer 20,000, I think it's called. It's actually Warhammer 40,000, like Dungeons and Dragons, only with space marines. Anyway, he's dropping the occasional F-bomb. What do you do about that? This is the first time I've had a teenager. I know, overall, try to quash it, but at some point I've got to give him his freedom just to stretch his little teenage limbs. Anyway, let me know in the comments what you do when your kid starts dropping the F-bomb. Got some really good, some people have sent some really good things through to martyzebel@gmail.com. Couple of them today from Gus Garside and Wayne Summerfield I'm going to include. And also had a lovely letter from Kane from Japan, and I appreciate you writing to me, mate. The one from Gus is fascinating. It's about Alexander the Great. Now, I wasn't a big historian, but Alexander the Great, he's up there, isn't he, with people like Genghis Khan and Gandhi as just major juggernauts of history. This is really interesting. Have a listen to this. The last wishes of Alexander the Great. On his deathbed, Alexander summoned his army generals and told them his 3 ultimate wishes. 1. The best doctors should carry his coffin. 2. The wealth he has accumulated, money, gold, precious stones, should be scattered along the procession to the cemetery. 3. His hands should be let loose so they hang outside the coffin for all to see. One of his generals was surprised by these unusual requests and asked Alexander to explain. Here's what Alexander the Great had to say. 1. I want the best doctors to carry my coffin to demonstrate that in the face of death, even the best doctors in the world have no power to heal. 2. I want the road to be covered with my treasure so that everybody sees that material wealth acquired on earth will stay on earth. 3. I want my hands to swing in the wind so that people understand that we come to this world empty-handed and we leave this world empty-handed after the most precious treasure of all is exhausted, and that is time. We do not take to our grave any material wealth. Time is our most precious treasure because it is limited. We can produce more wealth, but we cannot produce more time. When we give someone our time, we actually give a portion of our life that we never can take back. Our time is our life. I thought that was fantastic. You want to hear some real spin? In other words, this situation has given us treasures. It's given us extra time with our families. Is that possible? Can I drag you over to that way of thinking? I'm having trouble convincing myself, but it's a thought. Thanks, Gus, for giving me that. That was wonderful. On to the article that Wayne sent me. This is from Harpers Bazaar, and it was written by Minnie Smith only a couple of weeks ago. And I think a lot of you are going to be familiar with some of this. Tiredness in lockdown. This is why you feel so groggy right now. 6 weeks into the national lockdown, many of those in self-isolation are slowly getting used to the quiet life. With an increased capacity for binging Netflix series, it seems a lot of the population, at least those not still working in key worker roles or living with children, are making time for, well, not much really. But if you're facing plummeting energy levels while your to-do list gets shorter, what's the reason? There is a valid reason you might be feeling groggier than usual in lockdown, despite potentially having less on your plate. According to clinical psychologist Dr. Emma Hepburn, the answer could be in your head, so to speak. In the current situation, your brain is expertly detecting all that extra threat and predicting you need more energy to manage it, which means your body is guzzling up extra energy to help you get ready to respond, she said in a recent Instagram post. Here's the picture. You can see in the picture that you got your brain, it's detecting a threat, it's got the flight, fight, freeze and response reactions, and a lot of that stuff rings true. Pause it and have a look at that picture, it's pretty good. Keeping going, we have limited energy like a petrol tank. Its preparation to help you to manage threats uses exponential petrol. The post reads, stress and high demand multitasking, or even loneliness and boredom, which uses even more. And before you know it, much more quickly than you will have depleted that tank. You are exhausted. It's a sentiment that Dr. Mara Klemich, consulting psychologist and co-author of Above the Line, Living and Leading with Heart, would agree with, wherein a situation none of us have chosen to be in, so many of us are feeling out of control, especially if we're not working. There's a lot of time to think, so it's easy to get into negative thought processes, which can result in increased stress levels. This increase in stress can in turn develop into emotional and physical fatigue, something that might explain why you're not exactly feeling energized right now. It can vary from person to person, but when we are experiencing fear, helplessness, boredom, and lack of purpose, we end up feeling drained. Loss of routine can also affect our mental state and motivation, resulting in demotivation. Goes into the 5 tips of feeling less tired during lockdown. Broad brackets are: set yourself small goals, create a new routine, don't bring your laptop to bed, try something new, connect with others. 1. Set yourself small goals. Feeling overwhelmed when things get too much, it really helps just to focus on getting through each day. I think I need to be a doctor. If you're struggling with having less to do, whether that's due to being furloughed or otherwise, Dr. Klemich suggests setting yourself one goal for the coming day. Call someone, read something positive or enjoyable, watch a program, Marty Does Rona would be good, or do a home workout or do a chore in the garden or around the home. It's important to differentiate between the expectations we have of ourselves to solve everything and what we can do, which is within our power, she explains. When we expect too much of ourselves, we can become our own worst enemy, constantly feeling like we're not good enough, which starts a vicious cycle of demotivation. Sounding familiar? 2. Create a new routine. Whatever whatever your working situation at the moment, it is very likely you have had to change up to your pre-corona routine in some way since the outbreak began. And as the lockdown continues, Dr. Clemich suggests carving out a new one to help protect your mental health. Create specific spaces around your home for certain things. Even if it's in a small flat, you can still create a space, a place where you may exercise or keep your exercise equipment, a place where you store your computer or laptop. She suggests creating spaces devoted to particular purposes can give us a sense of different places like we're normally used to when we get free and get about. And if you're tempted to spend the day in pyjamas, you definitely wouldn't be able to sport in the office. Dr. Clemich would advise against it. Getting out of bed and getting dressed helps maintain a more normal day routine similar to what we've been used to, she told Women's Health. Stay in our pyjamas or exercise gear all day, every day will give us too much sense of sameness and boredom. It won't help our mental and emotional state. 3, don't bring your laptop to bed. Speaking of your bed, to help ensure the sleep you're getting is the best that it can be, hop on out of there as soon as you can in the morning and try not to work from bed. If you can, try not to use your laptop in your bed, says Dr. Clemich. Keep your bed for sleeping. It will send subliminal messages to your brain that the bed is the oasis of calm and will help with your sleep patterns. 4, try something new. If you think you might need something to occupy some mental energy, doing something as simple as trying out a new recipe could be enough to get the cogs whirring. Dr. Clemich is keen to point out that it needn't be gourmet unless you're on your way to Nigella standards already. That's a sure way to feel demoralised if it doesn't go well. Cooking a meal or just going for a walk are small victories when it's tempting to lay around all day.
5,
Connect with others. If you're missing the usual colleague catch-ups and sociable Sunday brunches, making time to reach out to the ones that make you feel good will never be a bad idea. Connecting with others, either people you're already with or virtually, can help, even if it's just for 10 minutes, says Dr. Clemich. Talking to other people can help you to focus attention away from yourself, and the social connection will make you feel re-energized. This is an odd one. Even better, why not find a colleague or friend who hasn't been furloughed and be their go-to support by checking in on them regularly? As those of us who have been furloughed have things to deal with, so do people who are working. They are dealing with their own issues. On that note, I spoke to my boss yesterday with a query about leave, and after I hung up, I did ask him how he was going, but I didn't really ask him how he was going because I was standing in the line at Officeworks and I was about to be served. I'm going to change that. I'm going to go back and ring my boss and just ask him how he really is going. Why don't you do the same? If old Hicksy in Sydney gets 100 calls of people ringing to ask him how he's going, I reckon that might make him feel a bit better as well, because God knows, I reckon they've been fielding a lot more calls than you or I have. Give it a go. Let's overwhelm them in a good way.